Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is first.
This is Real Talk with George and Frazier. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Not much, brother. Just chilling and relaxing and just chilling.
Uh-oh. I know we got a good guest. Every time you start dancing, I know we're about to have a banger. How you doing?
Oh yeah, we got somebody scared to speak our mind today, but we gonna have some good conversation today. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Oh, yeah, man. Look, I can dig it. Anybody we have dealing with media and everything like that, to help us step our game up, man, I'm definitely for it. Tell the listeners and the fans who we have on today.
Oh, we'll put me on the spot at all. How about have her come in and we'll do like I always torture? You know I'm gonna torture it. You know I'm gonna torture it. You
All
know.
right. Wait, hold on. Okay, Phrase. Okay, hold on. Let's do it right. Mrs. Racquel Shelby from
Hey,
Rocky Road Productions. How you doing?
I'm good. Let me move this over so I'm not looking crazy. How are y'all doing?
We're doing good. I like the last name better though. I love the last name though. I will say last name first because Shelby, that is my favorite car. So I'm just saying.
Well, my husband gave me that last name, so
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm relaxing today. Thursday, almost Friday.
I know that's right. Well, thank you for inviting me on.
Absolutely. Tell the fans and the listeners a little bit about yourself. As you heard, Frazier and I normally butcher that, so we try not to stay away from bios and things like that.
No problem. So, my name is Racquel Shelby, as I've already said. I have Rocky Road Productions. We have about 5 shows, but I started off in 2016 doing my first video on my phone, and then I went on from there because I always like to sit on the porch, and then I got my own camera and started doing little stuff from the porch, and eventually I brought it to the studio. But from the porch, I ended up being a co-host with Billy T. Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that, I did another show with Real Talk After Dark, connected with some people there. And then I've been on Dr. Nandy. I've helped through a skit me and Miss Fifi the Plug did together. I got some raccoons removed out of this lady's roof in Detroit City. It's been a lot of stuff. But ultimately, I'm here. And my show's in the studio. So I have a Porch Talk podcast. I kept the name, even though it's in the studio. And that is broken up between Love and Success, Shade and Shenanigans. And then we have Vitamin D that follows that with the all-guy cast. And they have females as guests, for the voice. And we have Sports Talk. And my little show on Instagram, Rants and Robes, that I do.
Yeah. Nice. Tell us a little bit about Vitamin D. Both Frazier and I are martial artists and health enthusiasts and working out and everything.
So vitamin D, it's more like the men talking about stuff that they go through, a lot of relationships. They talk about a lot of relationships and sex stuff, really.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a good show, but it's for people. It's a lot of foolishness, but it's a good show. It's real talk. All my shows are real talk, though. All of them. I let whoever is on my cast be them. That's the point. Be you. Have your voice wherever you're coming from. People can handle it. They can handle it. If they can't, oh well, that's on them.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell us what's the inspiration for Rocky Road. I mean, I like the name Rocky Road. Everything is hard. You got to grind it out. But what was your inspiration? What was your epiphany for that?
The name?
Yes, ma'am.
So my husband actually gave me that name. He gave me the name for a lot of people will call me Rocky. I really didn't like that as a nickname.
Yeah, I feel you.
But he was like, well, why not, use that name, the company Rocky Road Productions. I said, okay. And it made sense. So I went with it and, went with it.
That's true. Good for marketing, though. Real good for marketing, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he always has good ideas. He's brain behind a lot of stuff. So, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. She give recognition. She give his flowers early. That's what I'm talking about.
Why not? It's the truth, right?
True. That is so true. So tell me what I thought it was Rags and Robes. What was your inspiration for that show? That show is kind of different.
Who, Rags and Robes?
Yeah, what's the inspiration for that? Because I have never seen nobody do that in my entire life.
Well, okay, so like right now, I would have been a lot more dialed up, but I was running out of time. So I had to come as I was, like I'm at church, child. But Rants and robes, the inspiration behind that is that you see on Instagram and so many different platforms, females feel the need to look a certain way. There's this stereotype that you have to have, your hair has to be like this. You have to be prim and a lot of times they're overdone in my opinion. And so I just wanted to bring it to the point where, we're myself and Whitney, we are wives, we have regular lives. So it's just showing people that, hey, you can go ahead and be you. That the robe is the symbolism for just comfort, just being comfortable in your own skin. Mm-hmm. And then we talk about whatever trending topics, things that's been going on in our lives, whatever's hip, and then we give us as well. So, and we try to put a spin on it to real world views, and just try to bring some sense of things.
Gotcha.
Right. I have a question for you when it comes to social media. I don't know if you saw this in the media last week or this week, where there was a report done by Instagram that, or Facebook really, that Instagram has been very detrimental to young ladies and young girls, even to the point of increased suicide for their image. And I know a lot of times when you're on Instagram or YouTube with these shorts and everything that you're seeing now, the only thing they're concerned about is their bodies and their looks. There's really nothing of substance under that, and I, as a father of a daughter who has her own cell phone, I must add that, how do you approach that? How would you approach that with your show, being a mother yourself, and breaking away from that from a woman's perspective? Because as a man, all I can do is tell my baby girl that I love her, because I know that that's what young girls need for development. If they don't get it from me, they're going to get it from some dude in the street. You know what I mean?
Right.
But as far as what it takes to become a woman and being a woman, that's my wife's department. I have no idea what she's going through. Just go to mommy. Mommy's going to fix it. Now, my son, that's me all the way through. My wife can't tell me anything about him. You see what I mean? Because I've gone through it already, so I know exactly what he's going through. So he's mine, she's hers. But how do you deal with that? Or have you been approached with that question yet about social media and young girls?
Okay, so I have a daughter, right? And she likes to play Roblox, but she's 10, and she's very I want to use the right words because I don't want to be offensive. She's trying to be grown. We'll say that, right?
Okay.
For 10. So as a mother, all my children are good children. I have 2 boys and a daughter. The boys, no problem. No problem. Tell them to do something, whatever they do it. They want to get out the way. They don't want to be a headache. You know what I'm saying? My daughter's a little bit challenging. I told her today, I said, I just don't understand, honey. Why do you continue to wake up choosing violence? That's what the young people say, right? And so I have to admit, as a mother myself, it's very challenging because she is very image conscious. She asked me to download Instagram. I told her no. She does have a cell phone, but it's in fact a flip phone. And the reason being is because my oldest, who will now be 17 in January, we found the cell phone to be very challenging to go on it as much as I can without giving too much personal information. Those phones can get you as a parent locked up. You really have to pay attention because they're kids and they do dumb shit, excuse my language. And if you're not watching every step of the second, which you won't be, because we are very preoccupied. We're trying to provide for our children and still, live a life ourselves. Not saying that you're being selfish, but like, hell, what am I talking about? I don't have a life, but it's just like now I'm doing this. Before I have to get ready. I have to leave out the door. I have to get my kids. And I have to come on. I have to cook. We have to clean. It's constantly going. You know what I'm saying? You're constantly preoccupied with things. So, people, we always say you have to raise your kids, and that's very true. But we also have to admit to the point that there's a lot of distractions. And it's very hard today, to do everything. And so I just tell her no. And I'm really trying to figure it out myself, to be honest with you. I mean, having a daughter, growing up, I had both my parents in the home, and my dad spent a lot of time with me. My mother was more, how do we say it? So heavenly bound, they're no earthly good type of person. She was one of them.
Yeah.
If I had to express who my mom is as a caricature, I would say she's a mix between, was it For Color Girls, Whoopi Goldberg's character, and Waterboy's mother's character. She's like those two. And hence, my parents are not together anymore. They divorced after 25 years. But so being a mom, I can only go from the things that I felt should have been implemented, and the things just going off of what I felt as a kid. But it's hard. It's really hard, to be honest with you. The best thing I could say, she wants iPhone. I said, hell to the no. Maybe when you're 16, but there's just no need for that. And the only reason she has a flip phone is because I have to get the boys to school. It's very challenging. I have to be at work at a certain time. I have to get the boys at 7:00 to school. Now, I could loop back. I just, it worked out because at the first few weeks of school, things were different. So now that things have changed, I could still loop back and get her to the bus stop. But she told me this morning, Mom, I don't want you to go with me to the bus stop because that's the only time that I feel like I can be grown up or a big kid, What is that about? I know it is. So it's just so much that you're faced with, right? Because it's like, how much independence should you give these kids? How much should you be on them? And I don't even know, and I hate to sound so crazy on here, but I just don't even know what the right answer. I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, I was a mother at 19. I never, ever got a chance to discover me outside of trying to be a parent. Does that make sense? Because I came out of a really controlling environment. So when you're growing up with your children, that's a hell of a thing. And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that at all. So that's just me being as transparent as I can. I hope I answered your question. And if I didn't, please ask me another question to get to the answer that you're looking for.
No, you did absolutely. Because like you said, a lot of people in our generation and our parents, and they were young parents. And like I say on this show all the time, you can't be mad at people for what they don't know. But in a society where you can go get the information, I can now be mad at you because you didn't get the information that you needed to know to change and make them be better. Like I tell my son all the time, the only reason why I give you 3 lashes when I discipline you is because that's really all you need. I'm not going to sit here and beat you for 5 minutes like your grandmother and grandfather did me. That's abuse. You know what I mean? And you know better. You do better because you know better, so to speak. As far as cell phones and things of that nature, my wife always goes back behind and gives them the phone. But I'm just like, you have to sit there and monitor that, because when we were growing up, I might be telling on myself, but in 1992, when I graduated high school, we didn't have any cell phones. All we had was the beeper. You had to drop the car and go drop the call. Well, what's up? You got the 911, that kind of thing. You never really were able to just pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on or how good. But it's just hard. It's just hard in every form or fashion, because I feel like kids have way too much information through their cell phone very quickly, and I'm having conversations with a 13-year-old. I'm like, wait, hold on. I didn't really know anything about that till I was like 18, 19. Exactly. You coming to me with this at 13? Oh, this is crazy. Absolutely.
It's very scary, because as much as you try to control it, and contain it, they run into other people at school, and you can't control that environment. So yes, to your point, I do tell my daughter I love her. And before I send her out the door, we say a little prayer of protection and stuff like that. And, I try to pick her mind and see what she's thinking and what she's going through and try to address those things. But I'm not perfect. And I tell my kids all the time, see, the difference between my parents and me is they have issues with how we feel or interact. I won't have any issues or regrets, because I already told them, I said, I already know. We're human, right? So we're not going to do everything perfect. You're going to grow up having your own stories about how you felt slighted in this way or this, that, and the third. And I will be open to have those conversations then. I said, hell, I hope I don't end up on the next doctor, whoever Dr. Phil will be in the future. I don't think I'm doing that bad of a job. But even if I do, we will deal with it then, because I'm not afraid. I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not perfect. And I try not to be so overbearing like my mom was. But you got to watch these kids. I mean, my daughter, she, I think this year, the top of this year, she got mad because I disciplined her for not doing her homework. The teacher called me, and I don't want these teachers blowing up my phone. I ain't gonna lie. Please, all the emails and calling me and shit, now that's gonna stress me out. So we don't have to talk about it, And so she got disciplined and she decided to run away. Now,
oh wow.
Now what's so crazy, and this is why I'm saying we're not perfect, and I'm being very bold to put myself out here and potentially receive internet bullets behind this. But
I don't, not to cut you off, but I'd be like, because I'm like, you don't live in my house.
Exactly.
The day that you want to sit here and discipline my kids or tell me I discipline my kids, you're more than welcome to take them. And I tell my son all the time when he talks about abuse and, I'm going to call PCS or whatever we have down here in Jackson, I said, you go ahead. All you taking is the clothes on your back because all them clothes upstairs, we bought them. Okay, you can have it, this, that, and the third. It's over. It's a wrap. Because I have documentation and scars on how my parents beat me, and you don't even have any of that.
Exactly.
At all.
Talk slick if you want to, but you got the right one. I'm gonna tell them, take them, this, that, and the third. Can't no court, can't nobody tell me how to raise my child. Because in the event I make the mistake, you're gonna be the same person asking me, well, what kind of parent were you? How could you allow this to happen? Boom, boom, boom.
Exactly.
So I'm the wrong one for that. So please be free. Say what you want to say. You're not getting any bullets here.
Well, the comments, but so again, I know who I was younger. And these kids, like you said, are exposed to more, and they're smart. Like my daughter is, I would say my boys are very book smart. My oldest is, he got a little wisdom on him and book smart. My middle child, he's a bookworm. Like he's a genius. Both the boys. She is smart. Not to take away from her, but she's more. I think she's got more like. She'll have more street smarts, like she figures. It's crazy, right? So at any rate, so she's got discipline. And so on a normal day, everybody's doing their thing. They're doing their homework. I'm probably doing something here, whatever. So I slip off into watching one of my shows on Netflix. Now I have cameras around the house. So my daughter decided to go through an area outside of my house that was not covered by the camera. So she wouldn't trigger it. Okay? Yes. Wow. So she left, takes off. My husband comes home. He's with his friends. Now you will wonder how we're all home and don't know our daughter is missing. I mean, the cameras didn't trigger, right?
Exactly.
She went as far as to, even when she walked, this camera did catch her, but for some reason I didn't get the notification. So she kind of went off as far as she could so she wouldn't be in the view of it. So then she comes home, and I didn't know she was gone, so she come home. Now I'm checking the times. This child's been gone over 2 hours. So she comes up with this whole crazy story. I was walking down the street. I was going to get this package from the UPS. And, she's telling this story. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you were in your room looking out the window. You seen the UPS person. You decided to go outside to get it. That doesn't make sense. Because you've never gotten a mail before or anything. Why would you decide to do that? And hell, I don't even think UPS came to our house. So that didn't add up to me, right? But I'm keeping this in my mind. Okay, this don't sound right. So then she goes on to say, so I was walking and this guy, he knocks me out in my back like this, boom. He throws me over his shoulder, carries me all the way down to 8 Mile in Glasser by the liquor store. So she's telling me this and she's telling my husband this. Now, here's the thing. My husband's very sharp with stuff because he's been through a lot. But I think because it was his daughter and he got caught up in the emotion of some man was trying to do something to my daughter, you know what I'm saying? And have went through a lot of things himself, that drowned out everything else. Me, my intuition said, this, I don't know what's going on, but this is a lie. Something ain't right.
Right. Yeah.
She had my husband driving all around the city. We called the police. The police come out. They talking to her. They talking to me. You know, he's all distraught. But I'm like, this, something ain't right. But, you know, she came in shaking, like her body was just uncontrollably shaking. So you would think something happened to her, right?
Right.
No, she just knows she on some BS. And that was her fear getting to her.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So she concocted, I can't tell, the story was so elaborate. But I was like, this ain't right. Even the police knew it was something. They called back the next day. So we went through all of that. And my oldest was like, London, you need to tell the truth. You know, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Eventually she came clean. And I told my husband, I said, you know, with a kid at this age, she was 9 at that time, she's got to be in some kind of acting or something. So to concoct such a story, you know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
And she came home with blisters on the back of her heels because, you know, she's a kid. So she ran out the house in a onesie with some boots on, no socks. Her heels was rubbing against the back, so they caused blisters. And she came up with this whole crazy story. And it really blew my mind, all because she was pissed off because I had disciplined her. So when you're looking at a child like this, you're proud that they are so smart, right? But it's scary because you begin to wonder, what am I dealing with? Right. Because at what lengths will you go? You know what I'm saying? And stuff like this. So, I mean, my kids, when they had babysitters at 2 years old, they were telling their babysitter, you're fired. I mean, wow. You know what I'm saying? So I've always known, I don't know why I keep getting out of this, but I've always had something to deal with. Mm-hmm. You know, I've always, and it's a blessing, but it just like they say, it's a blessing and a curse, you know, because you have very intelligent kids and they just come up with stuff. I mean, I came up with some stuff. I don't even know if I should put myself out there, incriminate myself, but at this point I'm grown, you know, what can you do?
Exactly.
I mean, I had my parents thinking I was at, what was it called? It was something in Canada. It was this hotel everybody would go to and they loved, and I can't think of the name, but anyway, they thought I was there for a whole week and I wasn't nowhere but in the next subdivision over with my boyfriend for like 4 days. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So kids, and it was believable because my girlfriend was driving. She picked me up. You know, we had it down packed to where it looked like it was legit. We was fun. So, you know, your parents do tell you growing up, you know, you'll see when you have your kids and they're going to be 10 times worse than you, you're going to get back some of this stuff. And so here we have a walking nightmare. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But what can you do? And I'm just putting myself out there and stuff like that because I know people are not comfortable of being this transparent, of looking like, you know, they're messing up as parents. But that's a lie because you did something stupid. You didn't miss the beat, didn't catch on to this. You were misled there or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So we're all learning. So maybe it'll help somebody, child. I don't know.
Yeah, man. You know what I did is I showed my daughter and my son that video on CNN where that guy tried to kidnap the girl right off of her in her yard, run in the yard and take her. And I said, whenever you think you slick, this could be you. And mommy and daddy ain't going to be able to save you. So you need to think about, you know, what kind of life you have here and what kind of life you could be. Because he was bold enough to go into her yard and take her, you know. And that just scared my daughter to death. Like, even when she goes outside.
I need to tell these kids taken again,
man,
you know.
Look,
I mean, because think about it, even with all the resources that he had, all the connections, all the insight, he still had to go through hell and back to get his daughter back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about, she was almost an adult, if not an adult at the time when that happened. So, her character was portraying. So if we're talking about little kids, elementary students, that's scary. You know,
It's amazing that she would know. It was amazing that she would know how to dodge a camera where the blind spot was at
Yeah.
9 years old. You know, that's surveillance and counter surveillance stuff that you learn in
Exactly.
certain professions. Not at 9 year old, like, oh, I got a blind spot here, so I'm gonna tiptoe here, that. Even my
Yeah.
daughter at 9 year old is not that slick.
You
Like,
gotta underestimate kids. What are you trying to tell you? Kids are smart as heck. They come out with intelligence you don't even know about. A 5-year-old can do things that a 12-year-old can do by just observing it. Like,
yeah,
for example, if a kid raised around older kids, that kid will be a lot smarter than a kid raised around kids own age because he observed things bigger. He observed how they do things. He picks it a lot quicker. You know, that's why he knows that's why the old saying that girls grow up faster than boys because they mature a lot faster. That's why you should get a 14-year-old talking about, oh my gosh, I'm flat. I need to get surgery. I need to get a 26D. I'm like, girl, you're only 14 years old. What do you need a 27D for? Then you see go Instagram. You know what I'm talking about? Your episode of your show where the girl get on big booties and put a fix a flat in it, and then like something wrong out of bad horror movie went bad. You know, like, ooh, what happened? Who saw 2 basketballs and gave it to her? Like, who? I mean, really?
He said 2 basketballs, Fraser.
Basketball, man. They lay like toothpick about this big, and they got that big basketball.
Looking crazy.
Looking crazy. Like, nobody look like that. What are you talking about? And then, but Instagram has it that way. So how do you? Now that's a good question because how do you get your daughter? You say you take away from Instagram, but when she has school, kids do have phones. Kids do have Instagram on their phone. Like, how do you get them to get her to understand that Instagram is not something she should be on, even when she's not around you? Because that's usually a problem. I was at the movie theater, and I've seen a girl get dropped off in regular clothes. She go in the bathroom, come on, like a grown ass woman. Oh hell no! Come on, like totally different. Look, totally different. You like, did it look good? Walking on a little homeschool dress on, a Hobie came out like some grown woman that came out of stuff. Her boyfriend, hey girl, I'm like,
nah.
And now I got a daughter that scares the heck out of me. So I'm taking purses, backpacks. I'm taking everything. They got a computerized generation. No, ain't happening. But so how do you do your daughter to understand how important Instagram is not, the women on Instagram are not that valuable because it seems like they're valuable. They want to be just like them. Oh, we just like women sisters.
Well, it's not real. Let me just interject real quick. It's not real. In social media, everything, all you get is the A side. You don't get the B side. Because when you get the B side about social media and people being like, oh, I feel like I don't need to be here and all that other stuff, that stuff is not cool. And you really can't deal with that. So everybody goes to the glamour and glitz of, oh, you know, I'm sitting in front of this Ferrari, this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. But the real side of it is not fun. You know, it's not fun at all. And I think just before you answer that, Racquel, I wanted to say, you know, it's just a matter of being, for me, resilient. Because, you know, I grew up with all boys until we had my baby sister. And then we had another baby boy. But, you know, as far as growing up with girls in the house, I never grew up with her because I was the oldest, 17 years older, as a matter of fact. You see what I mean? So we were just a little bit different. So I don't have that. My daughter's the first experience that I have as from baby to, you know, where she is right now. And man, when I tell you she puts me through the ringer, she puts me through the ringer. But the one thing I tell her is you're just not that cute to be getting me. I mean, you have me, don't get me wrong, but you're not that cute that you're going to talk slick to me and I just be like, okay. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for me because I'm a man and I know what dudes do. I know how they think. You know what I mean?
George, baby, I don't get to George. So baby, I don't get to. Come on now. So baby, I get to time.
I'm trying to tell you. Okay, it's not happening. Okay, because she's now wearing this little, you know, she has a lot of friends that are counterparts, you know, and not as colored as she, and she's all in this tight stuff now because that's what they wear. And I'm like, you don't need this stuff now at no 9 years old, showing this, that, and the third. What you showing? Yeah. You know what I mean, you got me messed up. You know, you're getting ready to go back on something right now. I said, because it's not just them little girls that you're talking about. It's all the other people that looking. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't have any tolerance for that because, like your husband, oh no, you touch me and mine, you're not gonna make it back.
Oh man,
there's no talking about that.
I apologize for saying that on the show, but this is real talk. You come for me and mine, you not coming back. Okay, so just get everything in order. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what's going to happen. So please continue, Racquel. I apologize for going on my rant.
No, you're good. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. My husband be on her too. Like, you're not wearing them shorts to school, and I don't even be thinking they bad. He be that child. I don't know, you know, but I you know, if you really watch me, you know that I've been and said anything. And I tell my kids, I said, look here, the reason why I want y'all on these apps because y'all don't know who you're talking to.
Right.
You be thinking they're your age, and they be some grown people. And I keep telling y'all that there are grown-ups that hurt kids. They playing kids' booties and do all type. I tell them as graphic as I can without not traumatizing them. But they do all type of stuff to kids. People hurt kids, whether you believe it or not. There's people that don't like kids, don't mean kids no well. That's why I don't want you on there. Now, what would you do if something happened to you? And because you wanted to do what you want to do, and we can't find you. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that kind of terror? Just stuff like that. But even with that, I don't think that little gal hears me. I think, and it's so scary because it's scary because you can't lock your kids in the house. That's not a good idea. You do that,
we try. Some people, grandma back in the day, lock you quick. Hold on, baby.
Man. You was grounded for a month. Go up to your room.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's like once they do get loose, then you've got the effect of that is not cool. So you got to try to find a balance. But even in finding the balance is scary, right. Because it's like anything. Some of us, we live and see other people, and they be like, ooh, he hit his head busted wide open. I don't want no parts of that. Whatever he did, I want to do the opposite. Then you got some people that can see the same thing and still go and do it. Yeah. No matter what you tell them. And you might have that one kid is always a renegade in the bunch. You know what I'm saying? And I think my daughter is that renegade, so I don't know. You had to pray for me, child. I had to pray for myself and pray for y'all. And
Just keep praying. Just keep praying.
Yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard nowadays, but especially everything is solely around social media. Everything. We talking about from school, even schools now integrated social media in the curriculum now. So I mean,
to where it's a requirement. I need this for class. I'm like, what? Wait.
Yeah, there's some schools requiring the kid to have Facebook now. They have Facebook.
They need it for class. I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah. This is crazy.
Why would you need a Facebook at age of 5 and 6? Come on, really? What can you do on Facebook at 5 and 6?
Because these people. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you had to code the right word for that one, didn't you?
Yeah. These people are part of a system, and to a degree, you have to almost know that everybody doesn't even understand the damage or the part that they're playing in. Everybody's not even aware of that. So ideally, and this is what's so scary, they have made us so preoccupied just to live. Right, because most people are not going to dig a hole in the ground and just go live and put, aluminum foil on their head and survive. You know what I'm saying? It's people from the most modest of us to the most over the top, we still all want a certain level of living. And that requires you to grind it out unless you're going to drive poofties and live in the cheapest rat hole you can find. You know what I'm saying? So that makes you busy. While you're busy, they are educating your kids, and they are implementing this system, this dummy system that they want to put on all of our children, to the point I truly believe, people can say what they want to say, that they want a bunch of workers, a bunch of consumers. They don't want you to think. Mm-hmm. They don't want you to have an original thought. And if you think it's a joke, post something on this internet that they don't like, they'll flag you, block you. It happens to me all the time. You know what I'm saying? To the point where I don't even know where I'm saying, because they don't show me the issue. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I'm just saying crazy stuff or I'm harping on politics all the time. So this is the world that we live in. But ideally, what we really should be doing is educating our own children. And we're not. We don't have anybody in our communities that's willing to sacrifice for the greater good and say, you know what, I'll stay home. Because it doesn't have to be all of us. It could be a handful of us willing to teach our children. You know what I'm saying? And we probably got to put surveillance on them because, again, people are crazy and they mess with kids. So that's a conundrum too. But we should be teaching our own children. Ideally, we should be teaching our children how to plant their own gardens and I'm making my kids read when they come, because I had to read. People say, oh, you're articulate, this, that, and a third. Yes, because I had to read every day. There was a certain implementation that got me to this point. So we do what we can, but we can't do ideally what we should be doing. And it's very scary. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's scary.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to put a pin in that. I just want to let everybody know that, the best way to get around it is also to confirm and verify. I do that with everybody. I do that with my wife. I do that with my business partners. I do that with my students. I do all of it. Not to be meticulous about it, but I just want to make sure, okay, that whatever you're telling me, and I expect you to do that to me, confirm and verify, so we have a certain amount of communication, and we also have a certain amount of understanding and trust, through everything. And I know that a lot of people are not built like that, but that's just me and how I get down. That being said, I know we only have a few minutes here with you, Racquel. Last question. Tell everybody what it's like to be CEO of your own media company.
Exactly.
It's a lot of work, and it's not paying like it should at the moment. So, everybody wants to be in entertainment, right? And I don't know why all of us want to be in entertainment. I can kind of get to why. I really think with me, it's not about the glitz and the glam per se. Of course, I want to live good, right? But it's not about the superficial as it is. I have a means to an end when it comes to my people. So it's a vision. It was a vision that was put into me very young. But with like anything, you have to be committed to this, because people see these things and people get here, but what did they have to sacrifice to get there? You know what I'm saying? You got people that do all type of stuff to get where they are. Well, I'm not. You don't see me twerking. I'm not gonna put on a coon suit. That's right. Not me. Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff that I'm not willing to do, and I have to do a lot of work. And there's a lot of people that aren't dedicated like me. Will say, "Hey, I'm going to come and help you do this. I'll take this social media platform. We'll do this. We'll do the website, this, that, and the third, because I believe in you. And then when the money comes through, then we'll figure it out then." I don't have a lot of people committed through that, because a lot of our people want to get paid right away. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They want instant gratification. So it's just, I say all that to say it's a passion of mine, and you've got to just grind it out. And that's what it's like. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of frustration. For various reasons, but I love what I do at the end of the day. So absolutely. I hope that answered the question.
No, it absolutely did, because Fraser and I are going through it too, in a lot of different ways, a lot of different aspects, because, we're starting to see a lot of prominent people in the social media, in the entertainment space, whether it's people like Roland Martin, or if you're the people that had to decide, look, we're not going to be silenced. And Fraser and I put this platform together for the creatives and people in our communities, because our counterparts have that all day. All day they don't have any issues. But when it comes to us, it's always something about oh, well, it can't be that serious, or it can't be that bad, or this, that, or third. And I tell you on the show all the time, this is a lifesaver. This has kind of opened the eyes of everybody. So people, when they didn't believe us, now all of a sudden they'd be like, holy smokes, they do go through that every day. How do you live like that when you can't walk in the store without being checked out, or, you're driving and you're always worried about being pulled over for nonsense, and now it's a life and death situation. Oh, I couldn't live like that. Well, of course you could, because you don't look like me, and you haven't dealt with, you haven't been in my skin my whole entire life. You know what I mean? To know what I'm dealing with and what I'm not dealing with. So I know it's hard for us as brothers. I could just imagine how hard it is as a sister in the industry, trying to make an impact and trying to give something back to the community. And the hardest thing is people just are like, they don't understand what you're doing. You know what I mean? Right. They don't understand that what I'm building actually is for you. It's not for me.
Right.
Because if I go away and I stop being that voice, where else are you going to get the information that you need for us to thrive and grow properly? You can't get it from the major networks, because that's their interpretation of you, how you look, what you should be saying, and what you should be doing.
Exactly.
Right. But how many of us in media reach back? How hard is it to get in touch with people that made it? You ask them, can I get you on a platform that they don't respond back or whatever? You know what I'm saying? That's why I try to respond to everybody, unless it's just pure nonsense.
Exactly.
Like, this doesn't add up. But, it's just, man, we do it to ourselves. And then we also got to understand the game. someone has to be inferior and somebody has to be superior. So in order for you to justify you making this person inferior, you have to believe your own BS. So you have to create a whole bunch of narratives because our conscious, being a human, and some argue some of these people ain't human, but look, we'll just go here. Being human, you have a conscience. And your conscience will fight with you about certain things. So in order to override that conscience, to be able to carry out these malicious plans, you have to form a system of a reason why you do things. So for example, someone does something to your daughter, you have no problem blowing them away. But you just can't walk down the street, pick a person and blow them away. But you have a reason, now you can do it because the ends justify the means. Does that make sense? So they have to believe this in order to continue to do this. And then they have to brainwash other people to believe it so they won't question what kind of inhumane act is this. So really, it's just a game and we're just part of it. The problem is we haven't figured out how to align ourselves to get our own game going and exit out of this game.
Right. Absolutely.
But we don't do that. We don't do that because we're so busy. Well, if you win, then I lose. How about somebody's got to be the chief and someone has to be, I hate to use the term Indian because people will get offended about that. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Someone has to lead and someone has to follow. Everybody cannot be a leader.
That's right.
So play your part so we can all get where we need to be.
Absolutely.
It's just that simple.
Absolutely.
That's true. So what are some of the young tips you can give some of the young women who think about starting their own media company or think about going to media in a respectful way? What tips you can give them?
That's a good question.
Know what you want. Go after what you want unapologetically. Find some people who align with your dream. You know, if you're very young, this is before you're having children, you need to come up with a plan. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you stay single till you almost 40 and then say, I want to settle down because now, you know, dudes is, you know, they like them young. So, but I will say, we need to be getting focused as young people, even coming out of high school, what we want, so we can implement those plans and still have our families, but plan out your children too. You know what I'm saying? Because that's going to make it complicated.
Right.
Because in this industry, to really get where you need to go, you got to be able to move and shake. You know, and so depending on who you're married to, you know, the man likes, if he's a man, he wants to be a provider. And he might be like, okay, you're always out of the home and I'm trying to provide, you know, our kids are left in the mix. So you have to consider all of that.
Right.
But you're going to have to grind it out. No matter what, know that you will never miss out on anything. If a person says, no, they can't accept your talent, either get sharper on your skills or just know that's not for you. But don't take it as a hit. You don't have to get naked. You don't have to do anything that's humiliating or that's going to compromise who you are. Because at some point, you know, when we're younger, we don't think things are a big deal. But when you start getting closer to 40 and you know, the light bulb should have been came on at 30, you're going to realize how stupid and how unnecessary that is. And a lot of times you shortchange yourself anyway. You don't even get what you're looking for. So hold on to your integrity because it's going to benefit you in the end. You will not lose. What's for you is for you. Trust and believe. Say your prayers, write down your vision, and execute. Find some people that's like you. You know what I'm saying?
Preach. We could go on and on, but listen, we definitely appreciate you being on the show with us and dropping those pearls, those gems, and giving us stories. I know both Frazier and I both have daughters. So we definitely appreciate it. I was soaking all that stuff in, and while you was talking, I was like, oh, no, that couldn't be me. But anyway, that being said, you know what I mean? Tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Follow me, Rocky Road Productions on all platforms. And if you're having trouble, go to RockyRoadMedia.com. That's going to take you everywhere you need to go. RockyRoadMedia.com.
Beautiful. Go ahead, Fresh.
And that's my famous speech. Welcome to the George and Frazier family. We family now.
Definitely appreciate you.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate
Anytime.
Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Man, another one, George. I told you, George. I told you to have a banger, George.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I was praying for her, man. The moment she said all that stuff, because I was saying to myself, what kid at 9 year olds knows how to avoid cameras? This is crazy. But anyway, yo, that was our show. Hey, this is George.
It's Fred.
That was Real Talk with George and Frazier. Peace.
Peace.